Hey there, Fletch from All Things Overlanding here. Today, I'm going to be talking about this RUX bin. This thing is 70 liters in volume, so it holds a ton of stuff. And it has a lot of advantages that you may not have considered before compared to like these rigid cases, these Plano crates and things like that that I've historically used. I'd never really thought about sort of a semi-rigid but partially soft case before. But I'm going to walk you through this. I'm going to talk to you about a lot of the features on this thing. I actually talked to Tony Richardson, the gentleman who designed this bag and the founder of this company, and I'll put a card to that up above if you want to go check that out, because I learned a lot. It was really fascinating to kind of just think about it critically as far as how you could use something like this in conjunction with or instead of a hard plastic crate. So again, I'm going to show you this thing. I'm going to show you all the features and everything on this, all the things that I like about it, talk through it in detail with you. So if you want to learn more about this RUX 70-liter bin, stay tuned. Alright, so let's start with the outside of the RUX bin. Again, this thing is just a great looking bin, right? Like, it's just got a good look to it. You can get it in black, I think green, tan. There are a few different colors you can get it in. I chose black because black's better for everything, I think. But you'll notice all kinds of just straps and flaps and then this hard plastic thing. I'm going to kind of walk you through, again, each of these different things and show you the features of this bin because it's so cool how it works. Again, the top is sort of semi-rigid. It's sort of a soft, waterproof material with these ridges in it, and the ridges are to keep your straps in place. So basically, once you have all your stuff in it and you pull your lid on, then you can actually tighten these straps down and you can, securely sort of keep your lid on. So you're not worried about driving down the highway and having this thing fly off on the highway. This bag is weatherproof. So they do say they don't quote unquote waterproof it. You can't submerge it. But based on the way that I've seen this thing perform, I am perfectly happy putting this in the back of my truck in a downpour. Like, this thing would be fine as long as you're not submerging it in a lake, right? The other thing about this thing, you'll see, again, this edge here is sort of like a hard plastic. Now, what's so cool about this is it's kind of moddable. So you can actually attach different things to it. You can see that these straps run through it. So again, it keeps your stuff in place so that they can't slide off the top. You've got this little grab handle here, and there's a little pin in there that you have to push. When you're done and you want to latch it in, you just latch it into that rail system and it will keep the lid on for you. Now we're going to remove it. I'm going to do the same on the other side because I'm going to show you how this opens up. But before we do that, look at the front here. You'll notice these grab handles are like doubled over and then stitched, so they are super, super sturdy. And what they connect to, again, is this hard plastic rail. So one of the things that when I talked to Tony about this bin is that he wanted everything to be reusable, replaceable, repairable, right? So I love that. If you ever did tear this strap or if it ever got mildewed or rot or something like that from being outside, you could just pull these out and get a new one and replace it and still keep using the bag. So again, it is meant to be used over and over and over again, and I love that. Another nice feature is this clear window. So again, this is like seam sealed clear plastic here so that you can see what's inside the bin. So again, versus like a bag or a backpack or something like that that is not rigid, you can actually see what's inside of it from the outside. Another cool thing is you'll notice how this kind of has a lip on it. So you see how this kind of goes down under there? And it has these grab handles on the corner. When you're ready to open this, so I'm just going to undo one of these straps. You kind of have to pull out on this and then up to get it over. See how there's like a lip right here? It actually sort of seals down on that. So that way you can be sure that no water is going to get in there because you actually pull it down around the lip and then the fabric for the lid actually comes down around that lip so no water can get in. And I love that. It's just such a thoughtful, design element, right? So then when you pull these off, now I've left one strap strapped here. So I've left one strap strapped here. So what you can do is, because of the bends in this thing, you can actually fold this back. So I can fold that back, leave the other one attached, and just quickly get to stuff inside of the bag. So, and then the other cool thing is, you can see down in here, this thing is semi-rigid. The way that this works is actually really fascinating. In these corners here, you see that the RUX logo back there? These are essentially like really heavy-duty slap bracelets. And I'm not kidding. So watch this. When I push on this corner here, it folds. When I push on this corner here, it folds. And then that's how you could fold this bag down, and you could actually make this almost flat, maybe like 2 or 3 inches thick. So if you took all your gear out of it and you get to camp or whatever, you could fold this thing down, tuck it in between the back of your seat and the back of the cab or wherever you want to put it, but into a much smaller space than a rigid bin, which I love. Then when you want to use it again, you pop it up, you hear that click, just like a slap bracelet, boom, they go back to rigid, and then you've got a bin. So again, super, super cool. And those you have to put in when you first get the thing, so those are replaceable as well. If you ever did happen to break one of those, you can order new replacement slap bracelets, is what I call them, but these corner rigid pieces. Again, as you can see here, this thing is all rigid here, so, you know, I think that, and I'm not the designer here, but I think that this lid is basically reusable, reusable, reusable. So again, if you ever had a tear in this, you could probably replace this and just put this back on the new bag section, the new soft section. So again, the point is for it to be as reusable as possible, to last as long as possible. But now when I scoot this back again, I had a ton of stuff in this. I brought lights that I'm doing reviews of. I have a lot of like gear and stuff that I was going to kind of talk about on this trip. This thing was packed to the brim, probably weighed 50 pounds. Handled it no problem. You can see now though, I've taken some of that stuff out, and there's just a ton of room down in here, right? So I've got some chainsaw batteries, I've got some extra batteries, some little knives and axes, things like that, a flashlight, some charging cords, all that kind of thing. The other thing that I wanted to point out is it comes with this really nice sort of like how to use it. You can, and it comes with these straps, you can basically turn this into a backpack. So again, it's not going to be the most comfortable thing. It's not intended to be carried for like a super long distance like that, but you could do that to make it easier on yourself so you don't have to carry it like a bin, which is pretty awesome. The other thing that I like is it does come with some instructions for how to use the backpack straps, how to attach them. But again, as you notice here in this thing, it all comes down to those rails, right? They're a really, really cool invention where because of these rigid rails, even though it's like a bin and a soft material, you can have rigidity and you can attach certain things to it and use it in different ways, which is really, really cool. This lid will come all the way off, so you can unattach it. You can pull that off. And then the other thing is you could use this, so what I've seen, you know, them in their videos, the RUX folks use this as, is they will use this as like a kneeling pad or like a changing pad. So let's say that you use this to take your surfing gear or your camping gear out and you get a shower or you get out of the ocean or whatever. You could take this lid, take the clean underside of it, lay it down on the ground, stand on top of this to change your shoes, put on your socks, whatever you need to do to keep your feet from getting all dirty and stuff. And then you can use it again, throw it back on, you know, brush it off, and you're good to go. But just kind of a neat use case for that. So what is really cool about this thing is what I learned from Tony when we had our conversation. Again, I've just always historically used these sort of rigid cases. Not just rigid brand, but like the solid, heavy plastic, non-cloth type material bins to haul stuff. But then you get to camp, you take your stuff out, and you got to deal with this bin. You got to put it in the back of your truck. I mean, as you can see, I've got a bunch of these things stacked up right now because I don't know what to do with them. I'm not even using them, but I needed to get them out of the way to get all my stuff out of the truck. So with this thing, again, you could collapse it down. You could make it much smaller, you know, break down the corners here real quickly, really easily, and you could collapse this thing down almost flat, right? If I didn't have stuff in here, you could collapse this flat. Then when you're ready to go, boom, you pop up the corners and bam, you got a bin. So again, that's what I think is so cool about this system, is that it's extremely well built. It is pretty expensive. It's about $265 for one of these things. But for how much gear this thing will hold and the fact that it is so reusable and it's going to last so long, I love this thing. I think it's totally worth it because, again, those rigid bins up there, that's all my cooking stuff. That's fixed. They're in a set location. I know where everything is. That's my plan with those. Those are going to stay there. Cool. You don't need to use the RUX for that. That black bin, the Plano bin over there, that is all of my like big cooking stuff. So my propane tanks, my grill, all that kind of stuff fits in there. And again, it's fixed. When I'm ready to go on a trip, I just grab that box and I throw it in. When I get home, I throw it back in my garage. I'm good to go. That's fine. What I'm using this thing for, though, is all the other stuff. So as I've started to pack up for this trip, I was like, you know what? I'm going to bring the chainsaw to process wood. I'm going to bring my chainsaw batteries. So I grabbed this. You know, I need extra battery backups to charge my phone, to charge my watch, things like that. So I threw that in here. And because of its bin-like nature, instead of throwing it in a backpack like I used to, where you had to dig everything out of the backpack to get to it, in here I can sort of see everything. I've got this window so I can see through it to remember what I threw in here. When I take the lid off, you know, again, I've got ways to stack stuff and arrange stuff and organize stuff where I can get to multiple things without having to unpack the entire thing. And the fact that it's weatherproof and that I could throw it in the back of the truck is awesome too, because I would like to know that I can protect my stuff if I need to, and I need to throw it back there. If I need room for a person up front, for example, if my kids want to come along and this is up front, boom, it's weatherproof. Just put it in the back, put it in the bed of the truck, good to go. So again, I am a big believer in this thing. I love the functionality of it. I love the flexibility of it. I love how well it's built. I mean, it's tough to compare a $40 Plano crate to this $265 weatherproof, semi-rigid / semi-soft bin. But the functionality, the longevity, all that stuff adds up. And that's what you get when you pay for good stuff, right? So again, I've been cheap and budget-minded my whole life, but there are times when it does make sense to spend more money on stuff that you're going to use and keep for a long time. So if you were looking for one of these RUXs, if you were curious about what they are like, if you haven't heard of these, I hope that this was helpful for you. I hope that that gives you some information you didn't have. If it was, click that like button. Also, in the description down below will be a link to the RUX, so check that out. Get whatever color you want. If you're looking for a good piece of gear and you're ready to spend a little bit of money on it because it's going to last, I think this is a good pickup. Also in the description down below are links to Facebook, Instagram, the podcast. I do a podcast every week. I've got a Patreon page. There's also a Facebook group called Newbie Overlanders where we've got a ton of people, over 7,000 now, that are in there talking every day, not getting beat up like the bigger groups. So if that sounds good to you, we'd love to have you. And of course, click that subscribe button. Click the bell to be notified when new videos drop. I do a couple videos a week, usually like a gear review like this, or a do-it-yourself modification or some sort of a vehicle modification, and then like the vlog / podcast. So if you're into overlanding, if you're into camping, if you're into, gear and that sort of thing, there's tons of content here for you, and I'd love to have you. So again, thanks for watching, and we will see you guys next time.